Today, I would like to share a little bit of Ukrainian history with you that I'm hoping will offer a deeper understanding of Russia's war against Ukraine. Hello, I'm Holocaust and Genocide Studies scholar Jennifer Boyer, and I would like to take you to the early 20th century when Russia was the Soviet Union, or USSR, and Joseph Stalin its leader. Now, the discord between Ukraine and Russia goes back centuries, with typically Russia being the aggressor. But I want to focus specifically on the years 1930 to 1934. The Soviet Union's economy was structured very differently than ours. Where we have a bottom-up economy that's guided by what Adam Smith called the invisible hand of supply and demand, the Soviets had a top-down economy, whereby the Communist Party controlled the planning of means of production. And this was largely driven by a quota system and a series of 5-year plans by Stalin and the Politburo. Part of Stalin's first 5-year plan was the collectivization of farms. This meant peasant farmers were to give their land and its crops to the state, who would then, in theory, evenly distribute it to the peasant farmers. Peasant farmers rebelled, especially in Ukraine, which was the heart of the breadbasket of the Soviet Union. Furthermore, the quota systems that were in place were unrealistic. So when the Ukrainians fought to keep their land and did not make quotas, Stalin set out to make an example of these saboteurs. Besides Stalin's usual punishments of disappearances, deportations to Siberian gulags, imprisonment, and death sentences, he hit back at the Ukraine by not giving them enough food rations and then demanding more quotas to be filled. So, to review, in order to punish Ukrainian peasants for fighting to keep their land and for not meeting unrealistic quotas, Stalin demanded higher quotas to be filled while taking food away from farmers. And remember, farming is serious physical labor. Without food, they did not have the energy to farm. Production dropped again, and Stalin continued the cycle of starvation. While there was an overall famine throughout parts of the Soviet Union between 1931 and 1934, Ukraine was hardest hit. From 1932 to 1933, Stalin's man-made famine against the Ukrainian people raged in an event Ukrainians call the Holodomor. Holod meaning hunger, mor meaning extermination. In the Ukrainian language then, Holodomor literally means hunger extermination. Desperate Ukrainians scoured the landscape for anything to eat, but Stalin even outlawed grass as food. People literally dropped dead on the streets, and then some resorted to the unthinkable, cannibalism. I read a story in Timothy Snyder's book, Bloodlands, which I highly recommend. He told us about a mother telling her children that when she died, they were to eat her body so they could survive. I know many Ukrainians are embarrassed or feel shame by this extreme fact, but they are not the ones who should feel shame. This genocidal act led to the willful starvation of nearly 4 million Ukrainians. And no, justice was never served, no one was held accountable. Today, few people know of the Holodomor or the role it plays in the ongoing Russian war against and occupation of the Ukraine. Whether it was called Russia or the Soviet Union, there is a centuries-old pattern of Russian leadership bullying and taking from Ukraine. So many millions of Ukrainians have died and are still dying unnecessarily at the hands of the Russians to satisfy Russian leadership's ongoing lust for power and dominance. And now, thanks to the Trump administration, the Ukraine is in imminent danger. The ceasefire is not about bringing peace, stability, and fairness to the table. It is really a forced surrender in disguise that only benefits Putin, Trump, and their ongoing quest for power. This is why I stand, and always will, with Ukraine. Slava Zelensky, Slava Ukraini.